So welcome to class number 3, and this is a class on making offerings. Alix finished off with what we want. Our goal is to help the infinite number of beings and become the highest being we can ever imagine, and that's becoming a Buddha. Well, in class 3, when we learn how to make offerings and the importance of offerings and our role of creating the seeds to be that highest being, it's knowing that we want to develop our compassion. That's the goal of this class, because when we have compassion, as I've said earlier, we're going to have love. So we want to prepare the platform to purify the obstacles that will prevent us from reaching our goal. The obstacles, maybe they're spiritual obstacles, or basically they're the bad things that we've done in the past. We want to clear all of those out, and we'll learn about the 4 powers to do that in the next class. But in this class, we're going to learn why we make offerings. We make offerings basically to strengthen our 4 powers practice and to strengthen our belief in what we're doing. So there are many different kinds of offerings, and we'll get into that. But first, I want to read to you a quote by Master Shantideva. So I'm going to share screen. Oh yeah, share screen. And just so you can get a taste of what is in this incredible book, The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. It's beautiful poetry. Lovely lakes and bathing ponds bedecked with lotus blossoms and water birds of beauty, singing their splendid songs. That's Master Shantideva's poetry in The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And when you read this book, it's easy to understand. It's got the commentary with it, and I encourage you to take time to go through it. So we make offerings. When we make them, there's actually no worldly good that comes out of an offering. It's a statement of our mind that we prove to ourselves that this matters to us. So the chapter 2 of the book, of Master Shantideva's book, is divided into 4 parts. And the first part is offerings. And in Tibetan, the word is chupa. When we go for offerings, we present things like Buddhas and other things like candy and things. But we think about it. If the mind of a Buddha, this person that we want to become, they can't enjoy this. They don't eat these offerings, actually. So it's just something that we do to strengthen our belief in emptiness. That when we give these offerings, we're creating the seeds and the virtue that we need to become that person. And the next thing that we do is prostrations. Prostrations can be really weird in Western society. Prostrations can even be considered against their religion. So why do we do it? Well, just like an offering, there's no worldly benefit of doing a prostration, but we do it as an act of honor, an honor for the teachings that were received. We prostrate ourselves when we see that these teachings will be a path for us to change into that highest being we can become. And there's 2 reasons why we might want to prostrate. 2 proofs. One is when we meet the Dharma body of a Buddha during our direct perception of emptiness, we can't help but throw ourselves onto the ground. And I like to think about in the Bible, Moses, when he speaks to God directly, he can't look at God. God presents himself as a burning bush, and Moses throws himself on the ground. When it's this feeling, it's this immense feeling of gratitude for what is being presented to us, and we can't help but prostrate. But it should never be something that we feel like we have to do, and it's never something that we feel like we would judge another person and their spiritual practice by that they prostrate. If you don't feel the motivation to have the mindset, if you don't have the mindset to do prostrations, then don't do them. It should never be something that you feel you have to do. You want to feel it's an act of reverence if that's what is in your mind. Just like offerings, you don't make offerings if you don't feel like doing that. It has to be something that comes from the heart and the state of mind. Never feel like you have to do it. That's not the goal here. It's something that you want to do, and it becomes an honor when you do it. And who you're honoring is yourself. You're honoring yourself because it's you who sees yourself doing this. And it's you, your little mind is the camera that's recording this, just like Alix said. Your mind is the recorder, and it's you see yourself doing these things, and you're making seeds at the same time. You're making karma, and it's creating the virtue for you to actually become a bodhisattva and on that path to enlightenment. And so, how do you do a prostration? That's a good thing to know. Well, the first thing you do is you bring the thumbs in and you press your hands together. And then you first raise them to the top of your head, right between your eyebrows, to your throat, and to your chest, your heart. Now, when you raise it to your eyebrows, you're asking for the body of a Buddha, and at your throat, the speech of a Buddha, and at your heart, the mind of a Buddha. And what touches the ground is when you go down, you slowly go down, which indicates that you don't want to go to a lower realm, like a hell realm. So you slowly go down, and what touches the earth or the ground floor is your knees, your palms of your hands, and your forehead. And then when you're finished, you rise up quickly, knowing that you're on a high path to avoiding a lower rebirth and actually becoming someone who will have the capacity to help all beings. The next thing is going for refuge. Now, what does that mean? Going for refuge is like you go for refuge to someone or something that you believe has the power to either help you or protect you. Now, I like to think of, when you're a little kid and you really need something, who do you go to? Generally, you run to your mom. You run to your mom or your dad because they have the capacity to, if you're hungry, they'll feed you. If you're tired, they'll help you get into bed. They can help you. They have that capacity. Or if you're an adult and your house is on fire, what are you going to do? You're going to call for the fire department because they have the potential to put out the fire in your house. And in this case, who do we go for refuge to? We go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And that's the three jewels. Why do we go to refuge to this specific things, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha? Because it has the capacity to help us. It has the capacity to teach us a path that can help us reach bodhicitta and the wish to become a Buddha for the benefit of all beings, which makes us a bodhisattva, and to do the actions that we need to take to plant the seeds to have the virtue to become a Buddha. So that's why we go to refuge. And what makes it possible? The belief in the emptiness, that understanding that what we think, do, and say is creating karma, and that our world and our reality is empty of anything else. And without that, we couldn't change. So that's what going for refuge is. And in Tibetan, I am definitely not a Tibetan scholar, but the more I try, it's planting a seed in my mind and possibly in your mind too, to learn Tibetan. But going for refuge in Tibetan is Yabsu Jrawa. I don't think that's probably right, but it's a start. Okay, so the fourth division of the chapter 2 is purifying ourselves of our bad deeds, of our bad seeds. And the Tibetan for that is Dikpa Drowa. So how do we purify ourselves? Well, that comes up in the next presentation in class 4. But why do we need to do that? Well, if we don't purify our old bad seeds, then we have all those obstacles that are going to prevent us from planting the good seeds and the virtue that we need to be on our path of preparation and then onto our path of seeing. So it's really good to think about purifying those bad seeds. And we'll get into more of that in the very next class. So that brings us to who the three jewels are. I mentioned them earlier, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And there's the Buddha jewel, and that is the Dharma body. There's either the apparent jewel or the ultimate jewel. The apparent Dharma jewel represents it's the representations of the Buddha. It's like paintings or statues of the Buddha. That is the apparent Dharma jewel, but it's not the ultimate Buddha jewel. The ultimate Buddha jewel is the Dharma body, or the emptiness of the Buddha's mind. And that's key. That's the real jewel. It's the emptiness of the mind of the Buddha that we want to have. We want to understand our own emptiness, that we're empty, and that's what makes it possible to become that. And the next jewel is the Dharma jewel, and that's the direct perception of emptiness. The apparent Dharma jewel is the books and the teachings, but the ultimate Dharma jewel is for us to see emptiness directly. And that's what we're doing. We're working on that even in this class now by going through all of these things, including the purification part. And lastly is the Sangha jewel. And the Sangha jewel is those who have seen emptiness directly. Perhaps that's most of you out there. I haven't done it. I am working to do it. I'm using this book, The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, to understand what I need to do and what actions I need to take to develop my bodhicitta so I can become a bodhisattva, so that I can be a person who does see emptiness directly. But the Sangha jewel is also the apparent one, is the people in the Dharma study group, or the monks and nuns. Many of them have maybe seen emptiness, but maybe a lot of them haven't. So the real Dharma jewel is those who have seen emptiness directly. And now we get on to the 3 types of offering. And I love this part because, you think about offerings and you think, I don't have money. What am I going to offer? I don't have money. This isn't for me. I can't afford this. Why am I going to make offerings? Well, when you hear these, you'll be encouraged and inspired to go ahead and make offerings. So first of the offerings that we could make are the offerings of things that no one owns. What is that? And I like to think about, I have a granddaughter, and I was going back through her pictures, and in one of them, it's a short video, and she's 3 months old and she smiles. And I don't know if you've noticed this, I'm sure you have. Seeing a baby smile is one of the most beautiful, heart-opening things in the world. And I can dedicate that. I can dedicate that to the happiness of all beings. I can dedicate it to seeing emptiness directly. Those are the types of things that we can offer up. We can offer up a beautiful sunset. We can offer up to the beautiful fragrance of a flower and dedicate it to a world full of flowering plants to provide us food. Those are the type of offerings that we can do all the time, the things that nobody owns. The next type of offering is the offering of our own body. Now that might sound a little bit strange, but I like to think of it that we do it most days. As I mentioned in the class previously, I work in retail. So I give service. I give service every day to the people who come into my stores. Whether it's directions, I frequently get asked a very, very popular question. Where are the bathrooms? I live at a tourist town and people need those. So I offer the service of, actually, sometimes I walk out on the sidewalk and I draw a map for them and point it out just so that I know that they'll find it without wandering off in the wrong direction. So that's offering the service of this body to help someone. There's other ways too. We can offer our service of our body to serving those in the Dharma. We've making meals for people, making meals for our own family. Those are all ways that we can offer our body as service. And the next way that we can make an offering is the offering of things you emanate with your thoughts. So I had a thought today. I was daydreaming and I was thinking, well, I was actually driving out to where Alix lives. And it's right here in the same town I live in. It's not that many miles away, but I was driving up the road to her place, and I'd only been up there 3 times in my life. In that, I lived in this area for multiple decades. And she lives in the most beautiful canyon and valley. I'm closing my eyes now and visualizing the white bluff cliffs, the vast green valleys, and I can dedicate what I'm seeing in my mind to seeing a whole world that's lush and full of growing plants and food just dropping off of them so that no one's hungry. Just those are the types of things that we can offer. Those are the 3 types of offering. And I hope it inspires you to make offerings more often, because every time we do, we're planting seeds for our own virtue to see emptiness directly, to become the person who has the capacity to help all beings. So, what's next? The 12 types of offerings. Um, these are 12 types of offerings we can offer to in our mind, in our heart, in our visualizations. And the first one is the offering of bathing. And you can see here in this picture, there's, a mom or a dad bathing their newborn baby. And it's such a precious act, just cleaning away their body, cleaning the soil on their body. And also we can imagine as the offering of bathing is clearing out our old bad seeds, clearing away the debris of our bad deeds. I like to think of it that way. And another way I think about this offering of bathing is having water to bathe with. So I can offer water. And then the next one is the offer of fine clothing. You've cleaned away so much, and you've cleaned this baby, and now you want to dress this baby in a beautiful outfit, like including a bonnet or a hat and a nice little warm, well, it's summer now, so maybe a really pretty top. Maybe this is a little girl and you want to put her in a flower top with ruffles, or it's a handsome little boy and you want to dress him in a really cute little outfit. So the offering of clothing. And I was thinking about this one too, how we could offer it to those in need. Just imagine that they understand the causes of where clothing and garments to wear come from, and that they create those causes and they have them, and that we could be teaching them the causes. And then the offering of ornaments. And I like to think of friends. I have some friends who like jewelry. So I could offer them earrings and necklaces, or, you know, men too. They like bracelets or cufflinks and sometimes necklaces, something nice to wear. So it's just fun to think about all the ways we can make these different offerings and to whom we can make them to. And the offering of ointments. Now that's a great one. For this baby, maybe we're going to put, you know, something so that they don't get diaper rash. That's an ointment. Or maybe you're a massage therapist and you offer really nice smelling oils when you give the massage. Or maybe you're in a family and somebody in your family has a backache or a foot ache or something, but there are like Tiger Balm or something that you can rub onto sore muscles. Those are all offering of ointments, and you can treat people with those. And the next is offering of incense. And one that I like to think of is one that I can offer with my visualization. And I grew up on a farm, and the smell in the summer of fresh mown hay, fresh cut hay, or in the evenings when we would irrigate the farm plants, just the smell of moisture and plants being watered. It's one of the best smells in the world to me. You know, just offering something like that to other people, that they could have that same good feeling that they get from this wonderful summer sweet smell, and how good it might make them feel. Maybe a little nostalgic, but it makes them feel happy. Or maybe it's a fine perfume or incense. Some incenses are just so wonderful. I love sandalwood, and I think it's a nice thing to give and a nice thing to receive. So we can make offerings of incense. And another way we can make offerings is an offering of fine food. Maybe you're work in a restaurant. Maybe you're preparing a lot of meals for a lot of people every day. And maybe you're a server in a restaurant serving those people. Maybe you're in a family and you cook meals or take turns making meals. All those are ways that we can make offerings of fine food. And one thing I like to add is making an offering of food uh, that's been grown without using pesticides, protecting even the smaller beings in our environment from early deaths. And it also harms us because we're the top of the food chain and those pesticides get into water. So it's important that we think about those things as we're making these offerings. If we ever have the opportunity to provide food for others, try to give them the very best you can. And the offering of light, that's a beautiful one. I like to think of that as offering the light of the path, offering the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. It's like the light at the end of a tunnel. You're lost and you're in the dark, and there's this light before you, and you can follow it to reach your goal. So I like to think of that as my offering of light. And you can think of it as a lighthouse on the ocean so that you're protected from hitting rocks that will sink your ship. There's many ways you can think of this light. The offering of mansions. I like to think of this as offering shelter, shelter to those who are in need, shelter to our families, our friends. Just I sometimes I I have an Airbnb, and when I'm cleaning it, I like to think about who I might be cleaning that for, and that they're coming into this shelter, and that I want to make it the best possible experience for them that I can have, that they can have. And that's a way of offering mansions and offering parasols. Parasols are, in case you don't know, are like little umbrellas, but they're sunshades. So in this case, um, I was walking the dog today and it's really hot out. It's hot for us. You guys might live in a hotter environment, but the dog was running for shade, or not running because it was hot. So she was, any chance she got, she would head for shade. So I like to think about offering parasols as offering more protection and shade, shade from getting sunburned, shade from getting too hot. It's a way of offering one more thing. And finally, the offering of music. I wish I were musical. I don't have the gift of being able to create music, but I do have the gift of enjoying music. So when people offer music, it's a wonderful thing. And Alix's partner, Ben Gibson, I had back surgery a number of years ago, and I was in the hospital for a couple of days after that surgery, and in came Alix and Ben played music for me, and it even right now, it kind of makes me feel like tearing up. It was such a wonderful offering, and I'm so grateful for it. And I love it that I can enjoy music, and I hope we all have the opportunity to offer it. Maybe we just play our favorite song um, for someone else, and that's a nice way to offer it. And it's really important that as we have all these offerings, that we bless them so that they can continue to come and they flow like a river. That means we do it all the time. We don't want a sudden break that our offerings don't happen anymore. We want to keep them going like a river that never stops flowing, like the Ganges in India. It starts in the mountains, it flows to the ocean, and it continues on, never stopping. The same river, but with different parts. So that's the different kind of offerings. And that brings us up to the last thing on this class. And the last question on your homework was, why do we go for refuge? And we probably answered it, but I'm going to answer it again. We go for refuge as a testimony in our belief in karma and emptiness. Because when we go for refuge in the three jewels, we're saying, I believe this. I believe that because I'm empty, I can plant different seeds. I can purify my old bad seeds, and I can plant new seeds that will help me become a different person, that will help me become a bodhisattva, that will help me see emptiness directly and get into the path of habituation, knowing that things are coming from this way, even though they look that they're coming this way. and I'll eventually become a Buddha with the capacity to help all living beings. So thank you for joining us this evening. And I hope you'll join us for our next class, which is class 4, where we learn one of the most important beneficial topics I can imagine. And that's we start learning the 4 powers of purification, how we can purify our old bad karmas so that they don't ripen, they don't cause us the pain that they would if they continue to grow. So please tune in tomorrow morning to Alix's class. And thanks for listening.